What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Sunday watch list. This upcoming week is going to be a short week. It's a 4-day week with Memorial Day being on Monday. If we start off with the economic data, right? Memorial Day Monday. Tuesday, we have consumer confidence. It's always important to be aware of that one. Around 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10 a.m. Eastern. And then on Thursday, we have GDP. So this will usually happen before the market opens, typically as a reaction. And then PCE before market opens Monday as well, typically as a reaction. So those are the events we have coming up. Going into last week, right? A lot of interesting things happened last week, and these are some of the levels that I'm going off of and the game plans I'll be looking for going into the week, right? So starting off with SPY, let's go on a higher time frame first. If we go on a daily time frame, you guys will see that before Friday, on Thursday, we caught a huge sell-off, right? And this is a bearish engulfing. We basically engulfed one, two, three, four, five candles. We basically engulfed these last five candles, right? And you can see the last time we did something like that was here. And look what happened here. So we had this huge bearish engulfing on the daily, and we engulfed one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, like eight candles. We engulfed all of these candles right here. And after that had happened, what I like to do is grab the top of that and the bottom of that, because any candles that form after that, if they're inside of that high and this low, they're called inside bars. So notice how that's an inside bar, right? Next one, just consolidating in between 3, 4 for 4 days, right? 5 days. And then on the sixth day, we get the breakdown. So in this scenario, what I'm waiting for is a break either of the top or the bottom so that we can finally start trending again, right? And in this scenario, since it was a bearish engulfing, I'd have more of a bearish bias, and then we continue to get a sell-off after that. So that's kind of what I'm comparing this one to a little bit, right? We had a bearish engulfing, we got a pullback, so anything from the top and the bottom of that, any candles that form in between could just be inside bars, right? Sideways before we actually get a move. And since it's a bearish engulfing, I'm kind of a little bit more biased to the downside, but I'm still open-minded to the break and retest to the upside too. It's just very important to be open-minded to both scenarios, right? So now that I have those two levels marked, right, you will also see that on the small time frame, that's Thursday's high and Thursday's low. But in between this, there's some key important levels. For example, this resistance here, or is this is a supply here. This 531 to, yeah, this 531 area, and then we have a demand around this area here. So these are two important levels that I will be paying attention to this week. If we do start to move sideways, we could still take good trades off of these levels, right? Starting off with the scenario, let's say like on Friday. Or Thursday, we broke below, right? It looked like we were going to retest this area. And what ended up happening was we reclaimed it, and notice we broke, retested. You'll see it better on a smaller time frame. And then we pushed higher from there. So like if I go to a smaller time frame, you'll see it a lot better, right? We broke above it, retested, and bounced. And you can see every time we come down to the zone, we catch bounces. So a game plan that I will have is potential bounces in this zone for SPY. If it comes down here, we could catch bounces off of that. It's very similar to this zone. Every time we come up here, we catch a rejection. Every time we come up here, rejection, up here, rejection, even right here, big rejection. So if we come up here again, I will be paying attention for a potential rejection in that area, right? I will definitely be looking for, so those are two scenarios, right? Bounces here, back up there, stop loss right below the zone, very good risk reward ratio. Rejections here, very good risk reward ratio. Just keep a stop loss above that zone. And then the scenarios after that will be if we show strength and break and retest that level, then we have room to Thursday's high. Same thing if we break and retest this low, this zone, we have room to Thursday's low. I think these are all very high probability setups, and they have a great risk reward ratio. So that is what I'll be watching for SPY. Either way we go, we have a setup, and I'm really, really liking this SPY chart right now. Going into QQQ, pretty similar, right? I think with Qs, if we go to NASDAQ, right? NASDAQ correlates with the QQQ. We rejected off of a very, very psychological level, which is 19,000 on Thursday. We got a huge sell-off from that level. And then we have this previous all-time high here around 18,600, 700. And notice how from Thursday we sell off all the way back down into that previous all-time high that you could see bounces once, twice. Here we go again, three, four. And we catch a lot of bounces from the previous all-time high retest that gives us a push pretty much back into these highs right here. That's why on Friday we got a really aggressive push back to the upside. So above this 18,000, I'll correlate it with QQQ right now, just in case you guys may be confused. But above this 18,925 gives us a push. So this could be like a nice break and retest back up into 19,000. And if sellers step in aggressively again here, I will be interested in potential swinging puts on Qs. Um, if sellers step in here aggressively, this is a rejection area that I'm very interested in. For shorts, unless we show strength and break and retest above that, let's correlate it with the QQQ. So that Thursday high, 19,000 level on NASDAQ is going to correlate with this high. And that previous all-time high area was, or the demand zone is basically like around this area. You can see it pretty clearly, right? Every time we come here, bounce, bounce. Even here, reclaim. Look, notice how Friday pre-market, we opened up above the level, held it, and got us a move higher. So kind of paying attention to those two zones. Looks like kind of have like a zone here as well. But for the most part, those two zones, I'll keep a very close eye on, since those are the zones that give us the biggest reactions. If we can get any type of rejection up here, I think that's going to be a great play. But I do think above this, if you want to catch a quick scalp, above this 459, 459.3, it gives you room into that. So if you want to catch a quick scalp, something like a break and retest here, it's about a $2 move from 459 to 461. I think it's a really good move. And if it shows strength and breaks above that, that could be a really good move as well. So that's my analysis on SPY and Qs. Based off the higher time frames, right? I would really like to swing some puts based off of that bearish engulfing that kind of happened here, but I don't want to be too biased. And because Nvidia and these tech stocks are showing so much strength, I have to be precautious with trying to time it too early, right? But I think it'll be a great risk reward. I mean, if I do end up taking a swing trade off of that, I'd like to get my entry anywhere from here and keeping stops above those areas here. So like keeping stops above that area. And if we do get the breakdown, I think this can start going to like 520, even like 519, 518. So it looks something like that. I think the risk reward ratio, and of course I'd buy time on something like this. This completely gets disregarded if we get above 534 though. That's what I'm saying. It's a good risk reward ratio, something I'll be paying attention to. Individual tickers, right? Let's go into some individual tickers. Apple starting to get a sell off as well, right? Got a nice pullback on Friday. It still looks good, but not my favorite setup as of right now. But if you look at Amazon, Amazon's also trying to catch a sell off. So a lot of these names they want to pull back. Microsoft, not so much just yet. It's at all-time highs. Um, anything, if we keep rejecting this area, it could be a nice reject, but anything above that area pushes higher. So I'm just scrolling down. I'll tell you guys which ones I like the most right now. Nvidia, right? Nvidia had a crazy week last week, completely gapped up from its previous high at 962 all the way up to like 1023, right? 1024. Now we're at 1064, which is pretty crazy. It's showing a lot of strength. Doesn't show any signs of slowing down just yet. How I would trade this would be we can clearly see that we formed some demand here already. This is a level that held up after earnings. And then this new high here gave us a pretty aggressive rejection at 1062. all the way down to 1023. So if we get back below 1062, it could be a nice short, at least back down to 1048 and then 1023. Any bounces and holds of this area can be a nice bounce area for continuation, right? We don't know how much higher this thing could go, but that's another reason why I kind of want to. That's why another reason why I'm like interested in these SPY shorts too, because once this thing catches a pullback, I mean, this is what's kind of holding us up right now, right? Once this thing catches a pullback, it's gonna pull back the whole market. This is carrying, but as of right now, this looks very strong. It's kind of tough wanting to go short when this looks so strong. AMD, this is a name that I kind of do like. I remember I was talking about this in my last Sunday watch list. We had an inverse head and shoulders here. Clear everything. We had an inverse head and shoulders here. And the recent demand was like this. You see it better on the 4-hour time frame. Recent demand was this whole zone right here. You see every time we come here, we bounce, bounce. When we're below it, we get rejected. And then when we broke above that last week, this is why I even had it on watch last week. We break above it, retest, and we catch a nice move off that area. Even on Thursday when we sold off, we just came back into this area. And on Friday, this thing showed a lot of relative strength off of that 160 level. Buyers just stepping in right off of that demand zone. I mean, if we're looking at this on a higher time frame, it is an inverse head and shoulders, and this is pretty bullish. So I'd be keeping an eye on AMD above like that 170. This area we got rejected off of last week, that 173. Any reclaim above that or bounces at 160 should give us a push back into like 180. So I really like this AMD setup. Let's see if the rest of the market wants to follow with it. But anything below 160, I think that's bearish. Meta. So here on Meta, I'm gonna be watching this 473.3 area. As you can see, we rejected, bounce off of it. And on the daily chart, it just looks we had a strong daily candle close. Anything above 482, anything above this 482 resistance here should give us a push into 490 and potentially even 500, just based off that weekly candle as well. Look at how that last week's high is around that 482.8 as well. Anything above that really has room to 490 and 500 as long as we hold this zone right here. So I'll be keeping an eye on this zone, this 474.3 for a risk reward ratio that looks something like this, right back into 490. Something like that on Meta. Definitely interested as we held up this 460 multiple times, once, twice, three times, and we're just pushing higher. So next resistance is just that 483 that we got to break and retest above, which is also a huge level from back here. Support, support, support. Now resistance, and let's see if we can hold above that area. So that's a name I'll be paying attention to. Google starting to catch a sell-off as well on the daily chart. It's a very bearish candle. We have a trend line here that is kind of holding up as of right now. Right, 1, 2, 3. Once this trend line doesn't hold, I think it's a push straight back down to 168 and then 163, back down to 160. If things do start to sell off, right? It's a little bit confusing with some of these AI and semiconductors showing strength. Coinbase, I think I also had on the Sunday watch this last week, right at this demand zone of 222 to 21. It looks very strong now. It looks like this falling wedge, this flag pattern is breaking out. Anything above this 240, I think this thing could fly into the 260s, 250, 260, which is a really nice move on Coinbase. It looks very strong. We held this demand zone multiple times all week last week. This 220, we held it multiple times. So anything above 241, 240 definitely looks like a move straight up to 250. I really like it. And then SMCI, last name on the watch list. We got an aggressive rejection off of that 970, so definitely a level to pay attention to. But this demand zone just keeps holding. This 860, 862 area, 860 to 863 area just keeps holding. Friday, we got above the level, kind of starting to hold. And I want to see if we're breaking out of like a trend line here. This high, lower high, If I go to 4 hour, you'll see it a little bit more clearly. You gotta fix this. It looks like, yeah, something like that, right? High, lower high, lower high, lower high. We broke above the trend line. Now we're coming back to retest it and we're forming a new trend line with the low, higher low, higher low, and we're above the demand zone. So as long as we're above that demand zone, your risk reward ratio looks something like this. Some of these names are looking bullish, right? That's why I don't want to be too overly bearish on SPY and Qs and try to time it too early. So it comes down to a lot of these names with confluence too. Other than that, that is going to be the Sunday watch list. I hope you guys learned something from here. Hope you guys all have a great trading week. Market is closed Monday. So yeah, thank you guys for watching.